All right, Kyle Schwarber returned to Middletown High School for a special event earlier this week, and we're not going to play the part where he ripped on our good friend G-Dub. We'll leave that out of it. But here was the comments that he had to say at that event.
I grew up going to games there. I grew up sitting in the bleachers and watching a lot of games, and I think the kid would be excited, right? Of you have your hometown team that's calling. So, but also being in the profession and knowing a little bit more of the ins and outs, right? Be an open ear, right? You always have to listen and keep different options open and to see what happens.
Now, there's a guy who could be a politician, Trace. That was a very
perfect answer.
Very political answer. He was ready.
Yeah, he had his answer. I think that ultimately he knew what he was going to say before the question was asked. I don't know where to go with this. I tell you, I could go probably for 20 minutes on this subject because I think it has so many different dovetails on it that you could go down about whether or not that should be a thing in Major League Baseball, or whether or not the Reds organization is at fault, or is it because you got players who are too greedy or whatever. I'm not here to place blame on anybody. The truth is this. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out that when you get older in life, you've already had some success. Things that you used to think maybe were vitally important aren't as important as they used to be, and you start to value things differently, especially when you have kids. I said this obviously on a post I made. When you have kids, I think it changes your life significantly. I think it makes you view kind of the way in which the aspirations that you once had to do certain things. You realize, well, if that takes away the opportunity for me to be either around my kids more or do more for my kids, you kind of for whether you want to say you're being unselfish or not, you put things aside. You'd rather do things that you'd never thought you'd do before. I'm not an idiot. Money talks. He's going to warrant a lot of money. There's going to be many suitors that want to have a guy like Kyle Schwarber on their baseball team. I'm not naive to that. All I'm suggesting and saying about Kyle Schwarber and the Cincinnati Reds is this. It is by far, in my opinion, his number one option. If the Reds, and I'm not saying the Reds should or could do this, to be clear, I'll walk through this whole thing. But if the Reds were capable of matching any offer that was put on the table, he would be a Cincinnati Red. His kids are relatively young. They're right around the age that you would traditionally start school. His wife is from the area. He's from the area. Her parents are from the area. His parents from the area. All of his friends that he had mentioned in that same interview have kids around his kids' same age that he brought up voluntarily, by the way. This wasn't provoked of him. He said these things out loud. In a perfect world, Kyle Schwarber makes a good amount of money, plays for a baseball team in his hometown that's competitive enough to get to the postseason, and then anything can happen. The one thing that baseball team didn't have last year was quite literally the thing that Kyle Schwarber provides. It's not like that they have a lack of starting pitching problem or relieving problem or anything like that caused them to have issues in 2025, and that's why they weren't very good. They made the postseason. For all the people that keep telling me that the Reds aren't competitive, they did make the postseason. Second of all, as far as them having enough money to field the offer, well, that's where I'm at now with the nuts and bolts of this whole thing. I'm not suggesting for a single second that the Reds 100% have the money. Okay, I don't know if anybody's been paying attention to the finances in baseball, but the Padres currently are about to go up for sale. And the reason they're going to go up for sale is because they had an owner who had a terminal illness who said, you know what? The hell with it, man. I'm going out, and I'm going to go out with a bang, and I'm going to go spend a bunch of money in a small market. And you know what? The Padres, they've been very, very good. They've sold out that stadium time and time and time again. And everybody always tells me, if you build a winner, if you spend a bunch of money, well, that's going to pay itself off. Imagine how much money you could sell in tickets and hot dogs and all these things they're going to sell. Well, is that why the Padres ownership group, after their family has some situations going on there, is that why they're probably trying to find a seller as we speak right now? No. The reality is that it's really, really hard to run even a somewhat profitable business by spending the amount of money you have to spend in Major League Baseball anymore to be competitive. So if you're an ownership group, the question ultimately lies is why do it? Why spend a ton of money when it's not even guaranteed that you win? Oh, by the way, the Mets just this past year spent $1 bazillion and then they choked all the way down. Could you imagine if you were in a small market and you spent a ton of money and you were already you were already in debt up to your eyeballs with the amount of money you spent? And oh, by the way, the old measly Reds who spend no money, they make the postseason and you don't. That's not a very good kind of backbone to stand on if you're a general manager going to the owner and saying, hey, we need more money. So what I'm getting at is this. I don't know if Kyle Schwarber will sign with the Reds or not, but I am a fan, and the fan in me is going to believe that they can find a way to do it until they don't. And when they don't, I'll probably say, yeah, that was stupid to think they had a chance, but I'm going to do it. And if you're going to sit there and tell me that I'm stupid for doing it, well, then maybe when I get to the point where I can't believe that a guy that wants to be a Cincinnati Red has no chance to sign as a free agent to the Cincinnati Reds, then I'll probably stop being a fan. But I'm not there yet. So I just, Nick, it's simple. Money's a big part of it. Is Nick Craw going to have the ability to even field an offer? I don't know. But I do know this. Kyle Schwarber would be an idiot to turn down an extra $15-20 million too, because that's generational wealth. I'm not suggesting for a single second that that's not possible. But I like to think that we can make a competitive offer. I don't know what that looks like, Nick. Maybe it's $5 million difference, $6 million difference. At the end of the day, that's still a lot of money. But if you're Kyle Schwarber, maybe you value those things over $5 million over the grand scheme of it. I don't know. But I just think that, listen, the Reds ownership group has been through a lot in this city. They've had campaigns ran against them to try to sell the team. There has been nothing but negative things said about the Castellinis for the most part of a past decade, 15 years, how many ever years you want to go back. I'm not suggesting for a second that they win everybody over by signing one player. But if you want to shake the narrative, if you want to one time in your ownership career truly probably having the fans praise you, you find a way to step outside the box, Nick, and you go out and you go for it. And you know what's crazy about saying that is I think genuinely, if you go for it and it doesn't work and this new collective bargaining agreement doesn't go the way of the small owners and the way that they hope, then you know what? At that point, I think that you can actually look yourself in the mirror and sell it and say that it was never, Major League Baseball was never intended for ownership groups like us to win, because it's become a super wealthy, multi-billionaire hobby sport. Or maybe you go for it. Maybe you get the city buzzing. Maybe the Reds go on a run. And you know what? The whole entire narrative about who you are and who you were as an owner completely flips on its head. And I think that's still possible for the Castellinis, believe it or not.
Yeah, no, well said. I agree wholeheartedly. I don't think there's enough people that realize how rare it is to have a premium free agent that you actually have a chance of matching the best offer and them choosing you. That doesn't happen in Cincinnati.
No.
Like most of these free agents, you have to overpay. The Reds had to overpay to get Mike Moustakas to come here. They had to overpay to get Nick Castellanos to come here. That wasn't the fair market deal. They didn't say, "Oh, you know what? Cincinnati, that's where I want to go." Like this is the rare opportunity that you have that. And there's not a whole lot of franchises in any professional sport that could get one free agent that's not the overall value wouldn't even be one
not
of the
Juan
top.
Soto. It's not Juan Soto.
I think it's one of the top 50 overall overall deals.
Right.
Like
yes.
it's not like very rare. You have the opportunity to go sign a deal like this, and it completely flips the narrative on you. So that'd be my challenge. I mean, find a way. Like if there's never a way, then this. And I can stomach not signing Juan Soto. I can stomach not signing Ohtani and all that. It'd be very disheartening if there's not even a remotely a competitive offer for this specific free agent at this specific time. And again, we can speculate whose fault it is. It's got to be fixed if you can't in this particular time, because it's unacceptable from every aspect of the sport.
I couldn't say it better myself. I mean, at the end of the day, I don't even care about who we place the blame on. It's not about placing blame. And you know what? If Kyle Schwarber decides that he wants to go play in a different city and the Reds offer him just as much money, I would be shocked. To be honest, I would be completely shocked if that happens. Because I do think that Kyle Schwarber brings the one thing that this team needs. They need veteran leadership. They also need a power bat, and they need some reliability that you can consistently count on from the offensive side. And he would completely fill that role. Would it make them instant World Series contenders? Of course not. Of course not. But it's not like, I guess my last point is like, it's not like Kyle Schwarber signing up to play for the Rockies. He's not signing up for a death sentence. He doesn't have to sign up to lose 105 games a year. He's not signing up for that. He's actually signing up, to be quite frankly, with the best opportunity the Reds have had as a franchise in the last how many ever years, 15 plus years, that they legitimately could be one of the better teams in the National League. The issue is that they need offensive help, and he would be certainly that. But again, I find it absolutely insane. I just find it insane that we find ourselves in a spot where Major League Baseball franchises like ours would not even be able to field a competitive offer. And again, I think you can go to the Castellanos thing. People are going to say, Nick, oh, they didn't even offer Castellanos. What makes you think? I think there's a small chance that the Reds didn't even really want to entertain Castellanos because they didn't think that he was ever even going to become close to worth the amount of money that they were going to have to pay him. You can't say that about Kyle Schwarber here. I mean, it's kind of impossible. So we'll see what happens, but maybe I'm naive. And trust me, maybe I'm naive. I'm going to expect Santa Claus to come right down that chimney, Nick, and provide me with a holly jolly Christmas in the name of Kyle Schwarber.
Well, we will see. Trace, do you think him going back to Middletown there was any coincidence with that? Because I don't know, maybe this was in the works for 5 years, but it sure felt like him going to Middletown right now. There was some motivation for that. Am I wrong?
No, I think you're wrong. Listen, he just built a house in just outside of Middletown. I mean, people think I'm crazy. I don't have any inside information, but I do have someone that I know very, very well that I coached, who's one of his best friends since high school. And I asked him point blank, is there any chance, like even a remote chance? And he said, I'm going to push him as hard as I can. And I know that he's got a lot of things that would want him to be around here, but I ultimately don't know. So listen, it's exactly what you said, man. It feels like too good to be true, too good of a situation, too perfect of things to collide to make something even reasonably possible. But here we are, I mean, I don't want to get my hopes up because ultimately then you just get your hopes torn down. But I just think it's the one thing that could actually legitimately change my entire mindset about this baseball team is Kyle Schwarber. And I know that's stupid because it's only one player and who knows, he could get hurt the second week of the season and be out all year. I don't know. But man, you add one or two pieces in a lineup, Nick, and your whole lineup changes. And we've seen that this past year in 2025.
Yeah, I need to debate where Schwarber should be batting in the lineup the whole month of January and February. I would love that.
Yeah, he'll probably hit 4th.
7th. He doesn't have a high enough average.